Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, the podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about The Black Phone. It just hit for streaming at home, but I think it is still in theaters if you are interested in catching it there. So The Black Phone is a movie adaptation of a short story. It takes place in the late 1970s, I believe, in Denver, which immediately piqued my interest because I am based in Colorado, so there aren't very many movies that I can think of off the top of my head that take place in Colorado or specifically Denver, so that was pretty exciting to me. I will say that the trailer for The Black Phone pretty much gives away the entirety of the story, which is the downside to trailers these days. Some of them are just give too much information or give too much away, and this one definitely was that. I pretty much knew what was going to happen in the story before ever watching it, but I was pretty pleasantly surprised by this one. I think the acting was very well done, and that is what kept me watching. The story was good, the acting was good. The story itself centers around Denver and basically this little boy named Finn and his sister Gwen. And I have to say, Gwen, played by Madeline McGraw, she absolutely nailed it. I was blown away by her specifically. I think she, above and beyond, stole the show from everyone else around her, which is surprising because Ethan Hawke, I think, is a really great actor. And it isn't that he didn't do a good job. I just think that Madeline did an excellent job at her character. So Ethan Hawke basically plays the bad guy. You can see that all over, IMDb gives it away as to who he is. But so he's been taking boys around the neighborhood and then no one really knows what's happening to them. And he ends up taking Finn, and that launches the whole kind of premise of the movie. I will say the story itself, although, it's pretty obvious what's going to happen or what's going on, there were a couple of things in it that I guess I didn't quite, or I don't know how to say it, but it didn't lend to the credibility of the story itself. And one of those things that kind of bothered me throughout is that Ethan Hawke doesn't seem to be, it's not that he's small in any way, and I don't want to insult him, but he does end up in the story kidnapping a few older boys that I feel like potentially could have taken him in a fight, and so I wasn't exactly sure how it is that he ended up getting over on them and getting them into his van in the first place, let alone actually holding them and keeping them, and then none of them were able to escape, really. I know that in the movie itself, they do have a couple of references, where he'll leave the door open, sort of taunting these kids, these teens, to walk up the stairs, and then he would beat them with a belt, and it was sort of a routine that he did before killing them, and that I didn't quite understand because at least one of the boys, whose name I'm not going to be able to remember, but they do a flashback that shows him playing arcade games. He was a pretty good sized kid. I would guess he was supposed to be 15 or 16 maybe in the film. It doesn't necessarily say how old he was, but he was pretty buff, and for a kid that size, I feel like trying to just beat him with your pant belt probably isn't going to go well. I don't know. So there were a few of those moments where I was like, I don't understand how Ethan Hawke has kept these kids. And another thing that I felt like maybe just didn't make very much sense, and I understand it's a short story, so maybe the details or the fleshing out of some of this stuff wasn't necessarily there for them, was how Ethan Hawke was able to grab Finn in the first place. Clearly in the story, it shows that he's been taking these boys for a pretty significant amount of time, and there is a detail that Gwen, who is Finn's sister, knows about these killings, and that is the black balloons that are left at the scene of where these boys are taken. And Finn is by himself, and how he gets taken is he walks directly up to Ethan Hawke. When he knows that boys are being kidnapped, he walks directly up to Ethan Hawke, sees the black balloons, and is like, hey, are those black balloons? And then promptly gets kidnapped. So I don't know if the story is just meant to make everyone think that kids at that time were just really dumb, but I don't know that we were. I mean, I know it's like late 70s and I am not that old, but I grew up pretty closely-ish around that time frame. And, you know, not all kids are really that dumb. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like giving too much credit to children everywhere. But I just feel like if you knew that these teenage boys were being kidnapped, you're not going to stroll up to a stranger that has a dark black van. You know, I don't know. That's me. Like, it doesn't even have a sign across the side that says, I have candy. There's like nothing like that. And Ethan Hawke's character, especially when he first sees Finn, like before Finn is kidnapped, but kind of like around the time that Finn gets kidnapped, he's creepy as hell, man. He is creepy as hell. And what 13-year-old little boy is going to walk up to some creepy as hell dude knowing that there is this kidnapper that's out on the loose? I don't know. So that was like my one biggest this doesn't make sense sort of plot hole, but the rest of the film I thought was pretty great. It's an entertaining couple of hours. I want to say it's like an hour and a half. It's pretty quick. It's pretty entertaining. I like the premise of it. As a thriller film, I feel like this was done quite well, and I'm not sorry for having watched it. I thought it was pretty entertaining. I thought Ethan Hawke did a great job, and the kids in this movie as well did a really great job. Everyone kind of went above and beyond my expectations for this one. I was expecting it kind of just to be one of those throwaway straight to DVD sort of films, but I actually thought this one did a lot better than that. So I certainly would watch it again. Like, it's not something that I would just dismiss as, oh, I've seen it once and so not worth watching again. I would definitely like put it on during Halloween or something like that. I think it's a great one to add to the collection. So have you guys watched The Black Phone? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.